Greetings, brothers and sisters. There's Kamala Harris, President Kamala Harris, and Vice President JoJo Magoo, or vice versa, I don't know. So I got all these comments from people. I mean, so many. It was painful that were saying that JoJo was talking about January of 2020 when he made that epic gaffe. And I'm going to prove to you that's not the case. Some of the comments were speculative. They said, I think he's talking about 2020. And those weren't great, but then some people were adamant about it, right? Dickish about it. It's not like he hasn't had worse gaffes before. And you can see just from the video itself, and you can see from the video that I showed you. Now, somebody sent it to me late last night, so I didn't get the raw video. Here's the raw video. And so this is from whitehouse.gov. But I got one from like Australia One News, and they played music behind it, which I always, dislike. But somebody sent it to me, and it was late, so I didn't have time to go find the raw video. So I only got partial clip. And when I show you more of the clip, you'll understand that he is in fact talking about 2021. That he's saying that he's been president for 15 months because he's JoJo Magoo, man of mystery. And so let's start off here because this is actually important. This is the beginning of the session.
Today, Vice President, I'd like to lay out our plan.
So he's babbling, right? He's slurring his speech right off the bat. He's slurring his speech. I thought him and the Vice President, like he's just not even speaking very clearly here.
Good afternoon. Today, Vice President, I'd like to lay out our plan.
Vice President, I'd like to, he's merging his words together. It seems like he's having maybe remember that one video, his dentures, that one press conference, his dentures appear to come out. And so he is clearly not speaking articulately.
Our plan for June to continue our successful fight against.
To continue our successful fight. And so even here, he's off to a rough start.
Against the pandemic as we approach the July 4th date. In just 4 months, thanks to the American people.
And so this is 21 seconds in, and at 1 minute, he makes the epic gaffe. So 21 seconds in, he realizes he's only been president for 4 months, 4.5 months. And so he knows there that he's been president for 4 months. But about 60 seconds later, or 50 seconds later, he forgets that fact for 15 months.
Since January 20, and we're talking now about 15 months ago.
So what happened on January 20th? Joe Biden was sworn in as president. And so that's significant, right? And so there's a couple things here. So a number of people, or one person just wrote me, I'm in the editing stage. So I already did this, this video, but I just want to add this here. The person said that the first case of COVID was January 20th, 2020. And that isn't the case. There are multiple different dates that they accredit the first case of COVID, right? The first one being in December. There are people claiming they had it earlier. And then there was a case where a person was diagnosed in Washington in January 19th. So it wasn't the 20th. But even if it was, JoJo Magoo didn't say January 20th, 2020, and that's what you do. And later on, just a little while later, he actually does that. He talks about a date, in the past, in March of 2020, in the past year, because that's what you would do. If you say, all right, I blew my back out on January 20th. Wow, so you've been in pain for 4.5 months then? Well, that's a long time. No, not January 20th this year. January 20th in 1990. You have to specify the year if it isn't this year. If you mention a month, if somebody says, when did that happen? Oh, it happened in February. It happened in March. If you say something like September, like that, all right, yeah, last September, right? The previous September of last year, because it's the most recent September. But JoJo doesn't do that. So JoJo doesn't even know what he's talking about. So why do you think you do, right? But what he said was, since January 20th, the day he got inaugurated, it's been 15 months. That's what he literally said. He didn't say January 20th of 2020 because that would be different. That would be 17 months, but still, be closer. But he didn't say either of those things. He said January 20th, which would be the last January. Then he says a bunch of things that put it into context that he's actually trying to smack talk the Trump administration and Trump's presidency.
And our fight against this virus. Since January 20, and we're talking now about 15 months ago, the average daily cases are down from 184,000.
So he's talking about the way he's handled COVID since January 20th when he was inaugurated. Because I'll show you that that's the amount of cases he just said is from January 19th of 2021. There was maybe 5 cases, 2 cases, it's a little unclear, in January of 2020. So he can't be talking about January 2020 because he's saying 15 months ago there were 184,000 cases, right? And that's pretty consistent with what he's talking about in terms of this past, January 20th, January 19th. But in terms of January 2020, no. Like, again, he's talking about his presidency versus Trump's.
To 19,000. Below 20,000 for the first time since March of 2020. Average hospitalizations are down.
So you heard him. He said March of 2020. He specified that it was 2020. And before he said January 20th, he meant this past year. Because he needed to make a distinction between this past January or January 2020. And so he's saying that this is the lowest number of cases since when things started getting bad in March of 2020.
Down from 117,000 to 21,000. Death rates are down over 85%. And this didn't just happen by chance. We got to this moment because we took aggressive action from day one with a whole of government response.
Day one, he's talking about January 20th. So he's bragging about all the things he did. Day one was January 20th. He's not talking about what Trump did. So he's saying since day one. So there's multiple indicators. Let's listen to the whole thing again.
Since January 20, and we're talking now about 15 months ago, the average daily cases are down from 184,000 to 19,000. Below 20,000 for the first time since March of 2020. Average hospitalizations are down from 117,000 to 21,000. Death rates are down over 85%. And this didn't just happen by chance. We got to this moment because we took aggressive action from day one with a whole of government response.
I hope you can see it now, right? I don't know what more to say about it. But he's talking about what he did since day one on January 20th, 2021, 15 months ago. That's what he's talking about. Like, he gets things wrong, and the thing he got wrong in this case was the 15 months. Because he wasn't talking about what happened since the first case, because that would involve Trump and what Trump did. He's talking about all the progress he and his team have made since day one. He says it in various ways. Clearly, he's talking about the day he stepped into the Oval Office. See, this is about comprehension, because I'm kind of blown away that this many people couldn't comprehend what was being said. Again, this was, I took the original clip. Somebody sent it to me from that, Australia One or whatever it is. It's sort of a truth or news station. And they played music behind it. I didn't like it. But I didn't have time to get the raw file. I was a little tired. But when I got the raw file and I see all these other things, and I let it play for a little longer, you can clearly see he's talking about the day he started to be president, which is about 15 months ago. And again, this isn't about him, because I already did a video about his gaffe and many of them. It's about the comprehension level of people. Like, even in terms of just watching what I showed the first day, but certainly now you should be able to get it. I don't know if everybody will. But there's even one more thing here that proves he's talking about 2021.
Since January 20, and we're talking now about 15 months ago, The average daily cases are down from 184,000 to 19,000.
So what he just said was, since January 20th, 15 months ago, the average case is down from, here it is right here, January 19th, 2021, 184,000 cases. So he meant January 19th, or that's the last day of it. So 184,000 cases. He just said 184,000 cases. So he's not talking back in February and January and these dates, right? There's no cases back here. There's barely, there's not even a graph there, right? So he's talking about 184,000 cases on January 19th. And so, it would be one day off there, and 152,000 cases on January 20th. So you heard what he said. That's what he meant. And they said it's down to 19,000 cases. I don't know if he meant June 3rd, because he's talking on June 2nd. There's only 3,000 cases. But either way, 9,000 cases on June 1st, and 25,000. But, who knows with JoJo? His figures are never exact. But he was certainly talking about January of 2020, which is the day he took over from Trump. He wants to show the difference between, this whole statement was the difference between when he took over on day one, on January 20th, there was 184,000 cases, and now it's down to 19,000 cases.
Since January 20, and we're talking now about 15 months ago, the average daily cases are down from 184,000 to 19,000. Below 20,000 for the first time since March of 2020.
So he's saying down for the first time since March of 2020, right? In March of 2020, there was 3,765 cases. So maybe that's what he's talking about. He misspoke in terms of, like with JoJo, it's always a frickin', it's a weird ride. But you can see on June 2nd, the day he was given this speech, it's down to 3,000 cases. And so he had the 20,000 cases wrong, but he had, in terms of January 19th, he had the 184,000 cases right, which is the important figure to confirm what he's talking about, because he's all over the place. He's has multiple number gaffes here, right? Right. This is what he's talking about. You can clearly see from the full statement, he's saying, since I took over from Trump, this isn't an accident. From day one, we had aggressive activity, and we've brought the cases down. We brought the deaths down. He's not talking about any other time period before he took over. He's contrasting 2020 when Trump was in charge to 2021 when he's in charge. What he's saying is, when I took over on January 20th, 2001, I kicked COVID's ass, right? That's what he's saying. Trump didn't do it. We took aggressive action. We did it. Now we have to do some more stuff, because he had another. He's doing a pitch here. So then after I made this video, I did some other things, maybe ate dinner and, went out for a walk with my wife. We were doing some things outside the farm. And then I was going to edit this, and I started to look at some comments. And this was the most recent comment that had just come in. That JoJo gaffe video was actually a Paul gaffe video, because JoJo was talking about the coronavirus. The first case of the coronavirus hit the U.S. 16 months ago on January 20th, 2020. JoJo was 1 month off, while Paul was a whole year off, laughing my ass off. I love a good laugh, and it's okay to laugh at yourself. JoJo is a walking gaffe, and I just thought it was hilarious. I love you, Paul. Even if you hate this comment, please don't ban me, even though I have multiple accounts. LOLMAO. See, you're banned for a bunch of reasons. And let me go through them, because in your multiple accounts, I hope that you just go somewhere else, right? Because things are no longer cool between us. Because here's the problem with your comment. It isn't about me being wrong, which I'm not. Like, it isn't about me making a mistake, which I didn't. It's about me saying over and over again, don't point out these types of mistakes. If you think there's a mistake, don't point it out. If there's a mistake in the way I spell in the title, then please point it out in a non-dickish way, in a way where you spell the word correctly, so I can copy and paste it. See, what happens when I misspell a title, for example, is that by the end of the video, I'm usually pretty, ready to go do something else. Like I just have, especially if it's a long video, I have dogs, they're sitting on my bed. Sometimes one of them's on my lap or whatever. I got to move the computer over, the laptop over to my lap. I have dyslexia. I'm a little bit restless to go do something else. And so I type in the title, and sometimes I don't know how to spell a word, or sometimes I just sloppy with it or whatever. Then I click on render the video, and the video could render for up to 20 minutes, sometimes 25 minutes, maybe, I don't know. It takes a while for the longer videos. And so 25 minutes pass, and then I move the video over to upload on YouTube, and sometimes by then I've forgotten to recheck the title. I'm like, doing something else, starting another video or whatever I'm doing. I might just jump in, on the computer real quick and put the video up on YouTube, and it takes another, it can take even an hour to upload a video depending on my upload speeds. Usually takes about 20 or 30 minutes. But sometimes I forget to spell check something, right? And if I said I'm going to put a link in, that's where I'll forget to put the link. Because when I was saying I'll put a link in, might have been 4 hours ago. It might have been a whole day ago, right? I'm making a video, I say, I'm going to put a link in the top of the description box. Then I take the screen grab and I render that. Then I put it into Premiere Pro, and I do the voiceover and audio edition if I add voiceover to it. Or sometimes I do some little small segments in Premiere Pro, right? Because there's the voiceover section, there's the, where I'm grabbing screenshots, and, I'm doing a screen flow grab of whatever I'm watching, whatever, news articles are up there. So it's actually kind of a little bit of a complicated process, and that's why I forget things. So if I leave out a link, someone could say, oh, you left out a link, and that's helpful, especially if they send a comment to Facebook or something, because I might not read your comment for quite some time. I might not read the comment at all. I don't always get to all the comments, but sometimes I don't get to them for like a day. So if somebody sends me a message and says you left out the link or something, that's helpful. Or says you misspelled this word. My wife does that for me, so that's something correctable. But if I make a mistake in my judgment, or you don't agree with my assessment, please don't point it out. It has no value to me. It isn't going to affect future videos, and it certainly isn't going to affect the video I made. But there is this thing that people like to do, this little whiny know-it-all, I want to prove the teacher wrong, that's prevalent in this comment. Oh, Paul misread this. I got to write a comment, even though I know he won't like the comment, and even though he's probably going to ban me. It doesn't matter. I have multiple accounts, so I'm going to, tell him anyway, even though he's left multiple boundaries saying, don't do that. I'm going to do it and make it a personal thing, right? And I'm going to put a lot of stuff like laughing my ass off because that'll lighten the mood, but it didn't lighten the mood because I don't like those things. I don't think you're laughing your ass off. I don't like LOL. I don't like those things, right? Kanye said, you can pretty much get away with saying anything if you put LOL on the end of it, right? Which is, what people do. But again, like I've said over and over again, don't leave critical comments, and this is a critical comment, and the person's wrong. Like if I made the mistake and the person was right, I'd still ban them for violating the terms of service and just general dickishness in their little whiny dickishness in their comment. But when I first heard all these comments, people were saying, no, I think he's talking about 2020. I made the video late last night. I didn't watch the whole clip. There was music in it from that, news station or whatever it is, right? And so I said, well, maybe I saw it wrong. So I went and searched the whole clip, and there was like 100 comments, and I only need one, right? Like we only need one, but people leave, there could be comments for years. There might be comments to this video for years. If I made a mistake, I would have taken it down because, it's the whole premise of the video that JoJo said that 15 months ago, he's been president for 15 months. And so when I rewatched it, I could see I was clearly right. And then I thought, wow, what about the comprehension level of all these commenters? Even if JoJo did mean, which he didn't, which I clearly showed you, but if he did mean that it was 2020, by not specifying 2020, that would be on him, not me. I wouldn't have made the mistake. Neither would anybody else, because he would have had to specify. He didn't say from the time of the first case, because he wasn't talking about the time of the first case. He was talking about when he took over, there was 184,000 cases, and now there's less than 20,000. But he got the 20,000 number wrong. He got the 184,000 cases right, but he got the date wrong because that was the day before, and that's just typical JoJo. Like, his mind is gone. And so you can't blame people for misunderstanding him. And so it isn't a Paul gaffe, right? When the person says it's a Paul gaffe, it's not my gaffe. It's JoJo not communicating clearly. But, I was right, and so many of you guys were wrong because I speak Magoo. Like, I've been covering this guy forever, and he gets this glazed look over his face, and he's, like, looking for something that's not inside his mind anymore. Like, he's looking for something that's not there. And he just blurts out some number, 15 months, and, like, and for the most part, the media won't fact check him. But in terms of being banned, I've said it over and over again, there's nothing worse for me than seeing 100 of the same comment. It's 100 of the same comment that's like, no, you made a mistake or whatever it is. And I had that for years. I make mistakes. Like, I made a mistake. I called Christopher Guest Michael McKeon, or the other way around, vice versa. It doesn't matter. And I, in one of my Full House videos, the one on the Bob Saget aristocrats joke, I think. And I got comments for 3 years. Oh, you got it wrong. That's Michael Guest. That's Christopher Guest, not Michael McKeon. And just why? Like, why do you have to do that? Like, I already know. And it doesn't matter. I don't know why I, conflated the two. I don't know. It's just so long ago. Doesn't matter. It's just a mistake. But people love to point out little mistakes. And it shows you how few mistakes I make. Of course, I don't want to be wrong. Like, I don't, want to make a lot of mistakes or be wrong about the things I say are going to happen in the future or whatever, right? I don't want to be wrong about these things, because if I was, there'd be no point to my channel, right? Like, I have to be right the majority of the time, and I have to have insight and good interpretation of what's happening. Otherwise, there'd be no point to my channel. If I was wrong all the time, I would not do these videos. And so, again, this is a small thing, and it would never really be a mistake from my part or anybody else's in terms of, JoJo doesn't communicate well. But in terms of so many people being wrong about what JoJo said and having to point it out, and some of them personalizing it to me, when I've said over and over again, I don't have a complaint department, don't point out mistakes for the very reasons I just laid out. It's not helpful. And when I say that and you do it anyway, and you say, please don't ban me, you knew the rules, right? In this case, it's perfect timing for this dummy's comment because it came in just when I was making this other video, and I was like, oh, I could add this nice little comment piece. But it's a matter of self-discipline, because people love to point out other people's flaws. It doesn't help you in life. People are going to make mistakes. And even though I do this on my YouTube channel, in my personal life, I work to not point out other people's mistakes and work to be grateful, or not even, mistakes, flaws, or, you can Seinfeld your way out of any relationship and look at all the bad things and you'll be a miserable person. That's why I always say be grateful. And so the overall context of what I provide here, the energy, the insight, the laughter, and when I say, don't do this, this is, terms of use, and you do it anyway, then there's something you have to look at inside yourself, and it ain't good. Only spirituality will save this world is Paul Romano, definitely reporting from the Apocalaughs and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.